guys? We are back here on the Morning Buzz Wednesday edition. We went ahead and traded good old Amina for the one and only Matt Bruchez. But we have a huge interview, guys. The man, the myth, the legend. A man that has done a lot of stuff with the Red Hawk Sports Network. The one and only Matt Bruchez has blessed us with his presence, and we're going to chat about a lot of things. Matt, it's great to have you here. How you feeling?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Of course, we've been very excited about it. We've been teasing sports, and for the first time on this show, I have someone that actually is interested in sports to talk to. It's a weird scenario right now. I don't know how to act, but we're gonna get right into everything. So, first off, the Red Hawk Sports Network is obviously something that is here on campus that covers games through that we do at a Montclair State level. And I'm wondering, how did you get started there, and what exactly do you do there?
So I got started last year in the spring semester. So I was a freshman. I'm a sophomore now, and so I joined my freshman year. I'd heard about it in orientation through the school of communication, and I knew I wanted to get into some form of sports broadcasting. And so when I heard about the Red Hawk Sports Network, I knew it was a perfect fit. And so I emailed the director, Kelly Whiteside, and I was reaching out to see what I can do. And I told her about my experience of volleyball in high school because I played for 4 years in high school, and I was curious if I can just like do anything with the team to get my feet wet and to get started. And then she gave me the social media intern for the women's volleyball team of the spring semester last year. And then so what I was doing was I was running the Instagram, and like that was nice and fun, but like my heart was set on eventually calling games. And so when the games came around, they asked me if I wanted to call the volleyball game. And so of course I jumped on that opportunity, and then they must have liked me because they kept me on for this semester.
Nice. So, I mean, what was that experience like on your first broadcast going into it?
I
And
was
then
definitely nervous.
I'm sure.
It was definitely a nerve-wracking experience, something that I've been thinking about of doing since I was in sixth grade, and so it was definitely nervous. But definitely once the it started and like got through the first couple plays, and I was able to get loose, and it was a great experience.
Now, for your, commentating style, there's many different ones. There's color commentator and then there's play-by-play. Is there a preference for you when you're calling games, or do you like to alternate between both?
Well, so far I've been doing a lot of color commentary. So we have six broadcasting interns that rotate calling the games, and so on the totem pole, I guess you can say, we have four seniors, a junior, and then me, a sophomore. So they have been the ones that have been like mostly doing the play-by-play, but obviously they've given me opportunities to do it. So I've called play-by-play for a few different games, but so far I've loved doing color, especially for volleyball because I played it for 4 years in high school, like I mentioned, and so a good color commentary is able to break down the game beyond what you're seeing, and so I think I gave that great analysis that you wouldn't get from somebody that hasn't played volleyball before.
For sure. So your first volleyball call, right? It ends, right? How do you feel after? Did you say, "Oh man, I killed it," or you're like, "Oh, I hope I did good," kind of deal?
It was somewhere in the middle. It
Got it.
was I think I did good. I'm not sure. Obviously, my parents were watching and they told me I did a great job, but
Like,
they're
it's a
they're
little skewed. Yeah,
biased, a little
yeah, yeah.
biased. But no, it was definitely it's a great feeling once you finish a broadcast. You just have to be proud of what you did because you can't go back and change it.
Yeah, and for a show like this, we do a lot of prep work. So you spend hours getting together your stories, make sure you know what exactly is going on, so you could talk about it on air. Now, for a sports broadcast, it's a little different, but there is still a lot of preparation that goes in because you have to know the names, you have to know all the different strategies that can be used in a possible game. So I'm wondering, what is your preparation process like?
It definitely depends on the game. Like for a volleyball game, because we've been using that so far. A volleyball game towards like the end of semester, I definitely put in less prep work than I would in the beginning because as you spend so much time with the team, you like know their names by heart. You can say hi to them and Sam's, and you definitely are able to pick up on them a lot quicker. And then it's just a matter of learning the other team, and so that's basically what it comes down to. Is I'll spend about an hour or two just learning about the other team's stats, who are some of the notable players that we're going to be talking about, and just the type of games that they play, like if they play fast, if they play slow, and so it's just a matter of really getting adjusted to them.
100%. So, after doing the radio for so long and I listen to a podcast or another radio show, I tend to notice things that bother me more. So, you've done, I'm sure, tons of different broadcasts for sports, and then I'm sure you've also watched tons of different broadcasts. So, I'm wondering, when you now listen or watch a sports game, do you think of it through the lens as a fan still, or are you analyzing their commentary, thinking of ideas on how you can improve, or like, oh, I wouldn't have said that if I were you, kind of deal?
That's a great question because I was actually talking to some of the other broadcasters last semester, and I was like, it's so weird watching a game on television now and being from this point of view rather than being there and having a headset on and talking it in front of all the people. And so it's definitely a different experience talking about it on the games on the broadcasts and then going back to being a fan. So I think I still uh am a fan, but the broadcaster in me definitely has been taking over and is trying to like take things from different broadcasters and to make
Yeah.
myself better.
I think that's definitely a good tool for anyone, and especially in media, is looking at someone else's work and then seeing how maybe you can apply some things that they're doing that would help you and benefit you. So I think definitely listening and watching things from a different perspective is super interesting, especially when you weren't doing it before. Because as a fan, complete different scenario. But now you're like judging everything they say. It's like, oh, why would you use that kind of excitement there, kind of deal?
Exactly.
But you're obviously in the sports media world, so I'm wondering, what is the dream job for you? Where is the next step from Red Hawk Sports Network you want to take?
That's also a great question. I've been thinking about this for a while. I've actually known that I wanted to do some form of sports broadcasting since the 6th grade, and so that might be play by play or color, or it might be also like a host job for a morning sports show.
Mhm.
I don't know if you're familiar with Good Morning Football.
Absolutely,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
I would love to be on that.
That's
Like
such a fun
that
show,
would that
yeah.
would be the dream.
Right?
Yeah, but that would be a lot of fun to be a host of a sports show. I wouldn't rule out radio either, or color or play by play. So the truthful answer of where I want to end up is I don't really know. As long as I can get paid to talk about sports, that's
For
the
sure.
dream right there.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a lot of people's dreams. That, hey, ESPN, if you're listening to this, you might have two potential employed. No, I'm kidding. Um, so interestingly enough, I am also a sports fan, as I mentioned, and one of my favorite sports is actually college football. And the thing about college football to me is that their commentators are a lot different compared to NFL games. Where I feel like in the NFL, for the most part, they're a little more professional. I don't want to say like college isn't professional, but they're a little more serious, not as laid back as college football. And one of my favorite commentators is actually Gus Johnson. Because as soon as you hear his voice on any game, you're like, this is about to be a triple overtime. Penn State comes back 49-point kind of game. So who is a commentator that you love to listen to, and who is a commentator you loved growing up that you inspire to be like?
So the person that I definitely model my broadcasting after is Walt Frazier. I don't know if you're familiar with the
Hmm.
Knicks games, but he's been calling the Knicks games for a while now, and I find myself being like him because he uses a lot of like puns and nicknames.
Yeah.
And so I've been the nickname guy here at the Red Hawk Sports Network. So if you ever watch a volleyball game and you'll hear about the Higgins Hammer, Leah Higgins, she's one of the
Nice.
outside hitters. Uh, and so Walt Clyde Frazier, he'll say like dishing and swishing after somebody passes it and makes a three. And I've been doing that at basketball games now. So it's been a lot of fun. And then growing up, my favorite sports media person was Craig Sager. He passed away a few years ago, but I really took after his upbeat and positive personality. He wore suits that were like all different crazy colors, and so I kind of take after that with my socks. I have like an insane amount of pairs of socks that I just always wear and coordinate with, and so I feel like he definitely inspired me to come into this industry.
For sure. We've talked about you, Red Hawk Sports Network, a little bit, but now we're going to transition a little bit to current sports. And can I ask, who is your favorite football team?
I'm a Saints fan.
Perfect. I had a feeling. I feel like somebody told. Okay, for those who don't know, I used to do social media for the Red Hawk Sports Network. So
We miss you.
R.I.P. Maybe one day. But yes, they we've done a lot of videos together, and for some reason, like I'm almost certain he's a Saints fan, and I felt like the stars aligned for you to come on today because we can talk about a lot of different Saints things going on right
Do we
now.
have to?
We have to talk about it, guys. I reported in the Sportscast a little bit earlier, but Sean Payton's gone, and he's been stability for 15 plus years, I think, in New Orleans. Super Bowl champion, Drew Brees' legendary career, definitely part by Sean Payton. Drew Brees is gone. Sean Payton's gone. The cap problem. Jameis Winston coming off an ACL tear. They might not even re-sign him, but he did show signs of being a good quarterback.
Do you hate me?
Okay. You're a huge fan, I'm imagining.
Yeah.
So what is going on? What is the state of New Orleans right now?
It was really good. We went 9-8 this past season, and we were like literally on the brink of playoffs. If the Rams beat the 49ers in that last game, we would have been in the playoffs, and this would be a whole different offseason. But obviously, Taysom Hill got hurt in that last game, so even if we did make the playoffs, I had zero expectations. But you have a sort of comfort level with a great head coach as Sean Payton. I know he's always been able to hold down New Orleans for as long as he's been there, with and without Drew Brees. And so Drew Brees left, and we are still able to have a positive record. And even though we had the most amount of starters in the season, we had 58 different starters in this past season because COVID and injuries just hit us like a bus. And so he's done an incredible job. And so that's why, like, going into this offseason, I was like, oh, we're fine. We have Sean Payton. We have a really good defense.
Exactly.
We have Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas, two great skill players. All we need is a good quarterback because we also have a really good offensive line. And now we have two really big holes to fill. We need a head coach and a quarterback now. And so I thought New Orleans was going to be a really big destination for like Aaron Rodgers, who might be considering leaving Green Bay, or Russell Wilson, who might leave Seattle. And so I was really hoping that one of them would come to New Orleans, because you put one of those really good quarterbacks in New Orleans and we're instantly a Super Bowl contender. And so now without Sean Payton, I really don't know.
Yeah.
It's really the water is really murky right now. And so I'm not too sure if anybody's gonna want to come to New Orleans, if we're just gonna go into full rebuild, if we're gonna dump Alvin Kamara, dump Michael Thomas, try and get as much picks and load up for the future. I hope not, because we've been towards the top of the league for most of my life, and it's gonna be hard to imagine that I'm gonna have three losing teams, because I'm a Mets fan and a Rockets fan in the NBA.
No.
And so it's gonna be tough to imagine that it's just gonna be pain throughout the entire year.
Never-ending cycle.
So I don't know. Well, it's definitely not looking good right now.
No,
Yeah.
I feel bad for you, but I feel this season was definitely it showed how great of a coach Sean Payton really was. And not only that, but I feel like it also redeemed Jameis Winston as I'm not gonna say he's a top 5 quarterback, but I think within that system, and had Michael Thomas been there, this season probably could have been a completely different thing where it's another case where the Saints are 13-3 heading into the playoffs, somehow beat the Bucks
Brutal.
twice kind of thing. And it's like everything that could go wrong went wrong for the Saints, especially that start with 5-2, I think.
5-1.
5-1,
And then
yeah.
Jameis got hurt in
And,
that seventh game and hurt my life.
At least we know the truth about Taysom Hill now.
He was solid as a starter. I think he also went like 5-1.
Really?
And then Trevor Siemian was
Oh,
the
it's
guy that
Trevor
went
Siemian.
0-6.
Hey,
So he
shout
was
out to
one
Trevor
of
Siemian, greatest Denver Bronco ever. But yeah, so now it's also terrible timing as well because Tom Brady might not even come back apparently due to retirement, guys. I know, R.I.P. Tom Brady. But we have huge games this weekend, and before we let you go, let's get into some predictions because I love predictions and showing how terrible I am at them. Actually, I feel like this week I was 3-1, so pretty good on the NFL side. So now
on wild card weekend, I don't want to flex or anything, but I was 6 for 6.
I mean, the wild card went as expected.
As how I expected.
Yeah.
I went 1-4 this past weekend though.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so you ran our social media for the Red Hawk Sports Network. I don't know if you remember, back in October we did our Super Bowl predictions. And
big game.
And I was
dangerous territory.
I was super super confident. And I was like, that was when everybody was sleeping on the Chiefs because they started off like
Yeah.
2-3 or whatever. And I was like, everybody's sleeping on the Chiefs. They're going to the Super Bowl where they're going to face Aaron Rodgers.
Ah.
And so Aaron Rodgers just got out. And I was really hoping that they would face each other
Mhm.
so that we could make another TikTok where it's like looking back at
It was almost done.
it was
Because
almost
he did
there.
call the Chiefs thing.
Yeah.
Because they are clearly, I think, the best team in the
Yeah.
AFC. But Joe Shiesty, pull it out, man. He's got the it factor.
In the pocket like Burrow.
But Aaron Rodgers again let down in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Complete collapse.
Poor guy.
But I find myself rooting for the 49ers throughout the whole playoffs now, just because I feel like Jimmy G does not get any credit at all.
He doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, I mean, he gets the job. All he does is win, though.
But it's not because of him.
He's still winning, though. He's got dubs.
He's just handed. I could go to quarterback and hand it off to Debo Samuel every
all
time.
right. So before you go this weekend, 2 games. What do we got going?
I think the Chiefs are definitely gonna win. It's gonna be high scoring between him and Burrow, kind of like last week between him and Josh Allen, just trading shots back and forth. I think Patrick steps up and wins. And then on the NFC, I'm thinking the Rams. They have a really tough defense, and if they can stop the San Francisco run and make Jimmy throw it, it's gonna be tough because they got some good playmakers on that Los Angeles side.
It's tough for me on this situation because the 49ers, I think, swept them in the regular season, which does not bode well for the 49ers, which is why I am so scared to pick the 49ers here, because there's no way you beat the same team 3 times in one season.
Like you mentioned before, New Orleans swept Tampa Bay last year, going to the playoffs, and then they beat us.
Because the thing, when you're beating these teams, you beat them, so you don't really have to make adjustments because the game plan worked. The other team, they lost, and now they get to make the adjustments to better suit their game plan. So with all that being said, I know it seems like I'm about to pick the Rams. I'm not. I expect Matthew Stafford to crumble here. I just have that feeling. I feel the 49ers are getting a lot of lucky plays where it's just kind of falling in their hands. They're stumbling into wins here now. I just feel like it's a team of destiny for the 49ers. In the AFC, I feel my heart really, even as a Steelers fan, my heart wants to say Joe Burrow and the Bengals are going to win. I just can't go against Kansas City and Mahomes. So that being said, rematch of a former big game, because you cannot say the SB word here on the radio station.
Big game.
Big game. But yes, that's what I'm thinking. Now, speaking of the big game, before you officially go, who's winning it?
Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
Wow.
No doubt in my mind.
You're keeping that prediction.
It's so hard to stop Patrick Mahomes. He is just so talented. Even with a great defense like Los Angeles has, and I think that they're gonna make the big game. It's even if with their big defense, they're not gonna be able to stop Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes' incredible arm.
I remember early in the season, remember when Patrick Mahomes was supposed to be dead? Like the Chiefs were done.
They have him figured out.
Dynasty's over. That's crazy. And then as expected, end of the year, 8 straight victories or whatever it is at this point. It's hard to pick here. Okay, here's the thing. I am just going to ride this train of San Francisco. I'm going to say the 49ers are going to win. It's going to be one of those games where Jimmy G redeems himself and makes that one throw to Emmanuel Sanders to beat the Chiefs this time. Maybe it goes to Debo. Maybe they don't even throw it, actually. Maybe he doesn't throw it a single time the entire game.
No, Debo's just going to go up to Coach Shanahan and be like, give me the ball.
I just hand me the ball and we're going to win this. But that, I'm excited to see how it turns out. Maybe we'll have you on the show to see how the predictions went. But thank you, Matt Bruchez, everyone from the Red Hawk Sports Network, for coming on to the show.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you. And we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, weird stories, am I in the wrong, all that stuff here on the Morning Bus. So keep it locked.